Hello guys, this is Mark from Herotech Systems. In this video, I will be providing the solution for the 6.2.4 packet tracer lab titled Configure EtherChannel. This is a four-part objective lab, and you can find the objective information, the background, and the port channel table in the configuration manual. Well, I will be beginning with the instructions part one, configure basic switch settings. The first task, assign each switch a host name according to the topology diagram. So we're going to move into switch 1 and configure the host name. And then I'll repeat the same thing for S2 and S3. So you have to remember that the host name is case sensitive. So make sure if it's uppercase, you have to use uppercase. If it's in lowercase, you have to use lowercase for the host name. If not, you won't get the marks that you desire. So you can see after completing the task one, that is the first task, the completion percentage now is 3%. Before beginning, that is the next task, before beginning the link aggregation between switches, verify the existing configuration of the ports that connects the switches to ensure that the ports will successfully join the Ether channels. Alright, so we need to check the ports configuration and find out what is configured on those ports. So I'm going to check with S1. We're given a list of commands that we can use. So I'm going to be using the third one, show interface is strong. Alright, so we can see from the result, which is empty, it means that there is no port on the switch, or there are no ports on the switch that are configured as strong ports at the moment. So the same thing applies to S2 and S3. After checking them, if you check them, you'll find out that there are no ports configured on S2 and S3. Configure all ports that are required for the Ether channels as static trunk ports. So the ports that are required for Ether channel I already specified in your diagram, so we're just going to go into the switches to configure these ports. So for S1, we have G01 and G02, F021 and F022. So I'm going to specify the range of ports and configure them as static trunk ports. That's what the instruction says. S2, I'm going to do the same thing on S2. So on S2 we have G01, G02, F023 and F024. So this is how you configure it as a static trunk port. You just use the command switch port mode trunk, and it becomes all the ports become static trunk ports. And on S3 we have F021, 22, 23 and 24. So I'm going to do this. So 21. So if I have this log messages interrupting my commands, just press your enter key and then retype the command. Alright, so once that is done, we can move to the next commands, instructions rather. If the ports are configured with DTP dynamic auto mode and you do not set the mode of the ports to trunk, the links do not form trunks and remain access ports. The default mode on a 2960 switch is for DTP to be enabled and set to dynamic auto. DTP can be disabled on the interfaces with the switch ports no negotiate command. However, since we have set the interfaces to static trunks, there's really no need to disable DTP. Alright, so part 2, configure an Ether channel with Cisco PAgP. When configuring Ether channels, it is recommended to shut down the physical ports being grouped on both devices before configuring them into channel groups. Otherwise, EtherChannel misconfig guard may place these ports into error disabled state. The ports and port channels can be re-enabled after EtherChannel is configured. Alright, so step 1, configure port channel 1. The first Ether channel that is created for this activity aggregates ports F021 and F022 between S1 and S3. Configure the ports on both switches as static trunk ports. So between S1 and S3, okay, I'm going to open S1 now. So the ports that connects S1 to S3, you can see here is 21 and 22, and also as it's on S1 and on S3, 21 and 22 as well. Alright, so use the show interfaces trunk commands to ensure that you have an active trunk link for those two links, and the native VLAN on both links is the same. So we're going to check if we now have the trunk links configured for F21 and F22. Alright, so you can see F21 and F22 are trunk links and the native VLAN is 1. If the native VLAN is not the same, then the Ether channel will not form. So these are the things that you have to check and be sure of. So I'm going to show interfaces trunk. Alright, so F21 and F22 are trunk ports, and their native VLAN is also 1, so we can go ahead to form the Ether channel. On S1 and S3, add ports F021 and 22 to port channel 1 with the channel group 1 mode desirable command. The mode desirable option enables the switch to actively negotiate to form a PAgP link. Note, interfaces must be shut down before adding them to the Ether channel group. So let us go to S1 and configure the Ether channel. So, okay, interface slash 21 to 22. We're asked to shut down the ports before configuring Ether channel. So now we can configure Ether channel. So the mode, it's desirable. So this channel group command is what basically creates the logical ports where you're going to bundle the both physical ports into, which is 21 and 22. And then after doing that, after creating the port channel, the logical port, we can now re-enable the interface. We'll repeat, do the same thing on S3. message creating a port channel interface, port channel 1 should appear on both switches when the channel group is configured. This interface designation will appear as PO1 in the command output. So we'll check that when we go back to the switches. Configure the logical interface to become a trunk by first entering the interface port channel number command when the switch port mode trunk command and then the switch port mode trunk command, and this add this configuration to both switches. Okay, so we're gonna do that. So back to S1. So this is the command, or rather the output that was specified earlier in the note, creating a port channel interface. This is what should show up if you've configured the EtherChannel correctly. So now we're going to trunk the logical ports. So interface port, interface port channel 1, switch port mode trunk, and then we're going to do the same thing on S3. Step 2, verify port channel 1 status. Issue the show EtherChannel summary command on S1 and S3 to verify that EtherChannel is working on both switches. This command displays the type of EtherChannel, the port utilized, and the port state. Command output is shown for S1. So we're going to use the show EtherChannel summary to check if EtherChannel is configured properly and is functional. Okay, so from the command output that I have here, you have the port channel specified as port channel 1, and the state SU means the port channel is in use. The protocol is PAgP, and then these are the physical ports that are bundled into this logical port channel 1. You have port 21 and port 22, and this is the state of the port. So if you go to the key here, you have P means import channel, so they're in the port channel 1, and then SU means that the port channel is in use. So that means it's operational. This is what you want to have in your command output as well. And we're going to check for S3. Okay, so you can see the these are bundled in the logical port in the port channel and is in use, and the protocol is PAgP. So this is operational. So the link between S1 and S3, port 21 and 22, has been configured correctly. If the Ether channel does not come up, shut down the physical interfaces on both ends of the Ether channel and then bring them back up again. The show interface is strong and the show planetary commands should show the port channel as one logical link. So as it's up, we don't have to go through that process. So part 3, configure an 802.3AD LACP Ether channel. Step 1, configure port channel 2. In 2000, the IEEE released 802.3AD, which is an open standard version of EtherChannel. It is commonly referred to as LACP. Using the previous commands, configure the link between S1 and S2 using ports G01 and G02 as an LACP EtherChannel. You must use a different port channel number on S1 than 1 because you already used that in the previous step. To configure port channel 2 as LACP, use the interface configuration mode channel group 2 mode active command. Active mode indicates that the switch actively tries to negotiate the link as LACP as opposed to PAgP. The configuration of S1 is shown below. So we're going to configure the link between S1 and S2, and the ports are G01 and G02 on S1, G01 and G02 on S2. So I'm going to move into S1 and then configure so remember the ports are G0, so this should be interface range G0/1 to 2. Remember we have to shut down the port first. So for LACP, the mode is going to be active. Remember, we have already used 1 for the first Ether channel between S1 and S3, and so you can't use the same channel group number. If not, it's not going to work. And for LACP, you have to use active. Alright, so we're just going to configure it has created this port channel 2, so we're going to put the port channel as a trunk link. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for S2. So I'm going to re-enable the interface and configure the port channel interface as a trunk port. Alright, so once that is done, we're going to proceed. Verify port channel 2 status. So we're going to check the port channel status on the switches. And remember the command, it is show EtherChannel summary. Alright, we can see that it's the G01 and G02 ports are in port channel 2. They are in use and the protocol is LACP. So you want to verify that the protocol is correct. And then on S2, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to check for, I'm going to verify the Ether channel. Okay, so both ports are import channel 2. Channel is in use, SU. So you can see U means in use and LACP is configured. And now we can move to part 4, which is configure a redundant Ether channel link. Step 1, configure port channel 3. There are various options for the channel group number mode command. You're given these different options. On switch 2, add ports 23 and 24 to port channel 3 with a channel group 3 mode passive command. The passive option indicates that you want to use LACP only if another LACP device is detected. Statically configure port channel 3 as a trunk interface. So I'm going to go into S2. So I'm going to just give some space. So configure terminal. So we want to specify the ports interface F0/23 to 24. So range F0/23 to 24. So the first thing will be to shut down. So port channel 3 is created, and then enable the interface and configure it as a trunk. So we're going to configure the port channel interface that's just created as a trunk port. That's port channel 3 interface. As a trunk port. On S3, add ports F0/23 and F0/24 to port channel 3 with a channel group 3 mode active command. The Active options indicates that you want to use the switch. You want the switch to use LACP unconditionally. Configure Statically configure port channel 3 as a trunk interface. So rather, I'm going to shut down the port. It's already a trunk. Then I'm going to configure the channel group. I'm going to configure it as an active port. Sorry, this should be channel group 3. So we're going to go into the port channel 3 and configure it as a trunk port. So I don't think we turned back on, enabled the, so I'm going to go back to enable this port, sorry, interface range, and then specify the range F0/23 to 24. So now shut down. Okay, so you can see immediately I did that, the line protocol interface port channel 3 changed it to up. So it's going to come up. Verify the port channel 3 status. Use the show commands from part 1. Step 2, to verify the status of port channel 3, look for the protocols used by each port. Okay, so we're going to do that. So show EtherChannel summary. Alright, we can see the port channel 3 is active and the protocol is LACP. And if you check the same thing here, EtherChannel, so we're verifying here as well. Yeah, so for port channel 3 is in use, the protocol is LACP, and ports 23 and 24 are the physical ports that are bundled to form the logical, or as part of the logical port. Creating ether-channel links does not prevent spanning tree from detecting switching loops. View the spanning tree status of the active ports on S1. So we're going to go into S1, because as you can see, it's not completed yet. Our completion is 99%. So show spanning tree active. The interface PO1 is in forwarding state, and the interface port channel 2 is in the block state. So what we want to do is have both interfaces on S1. We want to have them in forwarding state. So we want S1 to be our root bridge and have both of them in forwarding state. So basically what we're going to do is configure S1 as the root bridge. So spanning tree for VLAN 1. So it's under VLAN 1. That's the only VLAN we have on the switch. We're going to configure this as the primary bridge. Root primary. So that's the command to make S1 the root bridge for this particular VLAN. So if you exit and go back to check, so we can see that this bridge is the root. So S1 becomes a root bridge, and once it becomes a root bridge, all the interfaces on S1 will become will be put in forwarding states or become forwarding ports. So here's the video, guys. We've been able to configure the lab from 0 to 100%. Please, if you're new to the channel, do well to subscribe to the channel and also like the video so that the video can be seen by more people. And do not forget to click on the notification bell so that whenever we upload new content on networking, you will be notified. I have other networking videos. If you're interested in learning networking, you could check our network series where we teach networking technologies from simple topics to more advanced and complex topics. So thank you, and I'll see you soon.